Should we get straight into it?
Yeah, cool. Let's do this.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the North Leeds Jitz podcast. Today on the show, I'm joined by Professor Oscar, who we almost did a podcast with a few
halfway through.
But unfortunately, the technical quality of it wasn't on par with the great content and stuff.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. So
we're here now. That's what matters.
Exactly. So we're here, and I'm gonna get some of the wisdom from Professor Oscar, and then we're doing some training, and I'm just really happy to be here, man.
Wisdom might be a bit of an exaggerated word, but some information or anything. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you guys. Tune in. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about where you're from, because you're not from here in the UK, right?
No. So I'm from Poland. I started Jiu Jitsu in my hometown, Szczecin, which is post-German town. So it was after the World War. That's when the Germany was retreating from the east, that they left the Szczecin behind. So it was like it's nice little town, and
is it known for anything in particular? Szczecin?
There's a shipyard. There is there's a lot of history there. But nothing that I would think of, except for the shipyard. In the international scale, I would think that would be the one. Right. So I started there. There was was that 2008? It was two rivalry teams over there, and I was so attracted to it. I was like, I'm gonna do this. So. It was nice because everyone the jiu-jitsu is big in my hometown. Everyone knows jiu-jitsu,
Well, I feel like combat sports is just big in Poland, right? It seems like it's a fighting culture.
Probably. We've been fighting for decades and centuries and thousands of years, but I would say so. I think we're the country is the amount of black belts. I think we're maybe top 3 in the world, I guess.
Really? Wow.
I would say maybe more than UK.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers really, but I would bet.
Yeah, I was speaking to Professor Jakub at Birmingham.
Yeah.
And it seemed like when he was talking about Jacob.
No.
Never heard of him. Yeah. And he was saying like how big combat sports was over there too, as well.
Massive. You go on the street and then it's like, people with cauliflowers and
is the training over there a lot different too? Is it like I heard it's maybe like a bit harder?
It is different because it is a bit of I would say old school, but there's not that much of Brazilian influence. So all the people who started jiu-jitsu in, let's say, like in 2000s and 2000 and say I can't even like maybe 2005 or whatever. It was people who were doing judo before, all the combat sports, so that the model of their training and everything is literally like the same thing that they were doing before, and in other martial arts they were practicing karate, for example, in the 80s or whatever that year was. They the style, the warm-ups, the structure and everything is exactly that's how they sort of brought up with it, as opposed to here where in UK it was already it was the Brazilians who brought it here, and look how many Brazilians you have. So they bring it from
the
from
culture
there.
And style comes
exactly. Even in the US, some of the guys they apply sort of like a wrestling structure in terms of the training. So it is a bit of a difference, But I think you would still find different academies as in the way they run the classes or they structure the training.
Yeah.
So it kind of constantly shifts forward,
So was Jiu Jitsu the first martial art you did?
No, I actually did My first martial art, if we can call it martial art, was the kendo. So it was it's a Japanese sword fighting, but not with the swords. You have what's called shinai, which is like a bamboo stick, imitation of a sword, and you have an armor, and you aim for the head, the torso, the wrist, and so on, or the neck. So it was a great experience. When I look back at it, I wanted to go again into it.
Yeah.
After I tried, I was looking in places in London because it was the essence of the. It's literally like the way of the sword, So it's like very interesting concept of center of the body, how to redirect the sword and get the final cut. So it was great. There was speaking of structure of the training, it was very interesting because we used to start the training with the seiza. It was like a meditation. You had a gear that you had to put in a certain manner. So it was a very interesting experience, and I enjoyed it. It was really nice. So that was the first one I did, and then the second one was the Wing Chun, which is probably very, very popular. And I thought, that
seems like a big difference from the kendo, though, right?
Yeah. Big times. But I was I can't remember why did I had a friend who was training Aikido for years, and he said, "Oh, I found out about this Wing Chun Kung Fu, and it's like Aikido is nothing compared to Wing Chun, where you have punches and so." I was like, "Oh, that's a real combat then, and I'll give it a go." And it was interesting. Some of the stuff were efficient in a way, but obviously it's not the martial art for young guys who willing to put in the grind. Exactly. There was no sparring. It's like practice and practice. So it's like, no, you need to have something that will actually put you in that combat, a fight situation, whether it's a wrestling or even boxing, which obviously is not good for the head as wrestling, but wrestling is not that good for the body itself. But you need that impact of the fight. You need that fight.
So what was it that led you to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So, like, my first introduction was actually the Hulk, the movie. Yeah. There was a scene where Edward Norton, I can't remember the year, he was training with Hickson, and it struck me as you look at the persona of Hickson in that movie. And you see the face of the guy, and there's something about him. It was like, he was like showing how to breathe, and this guy is making those weird like shapes, and he's like, you can see by the face that this guy is a serious deal. So that was the beginning of YouTube, and I googled Hickson, and I googled. That's how I came across the Gracie family. I watched the Choke documentary, which was obviously like probably the starting point for a lot of people. And that's how I kind of like, okay, that's jiu-jitsu. I knew more or less what to expect. And then in my hometown, as I mentioned earlier, there was already there were two big rivalry teams. So they were almost like enemies, Yeah. And it was one was affiliated. It's still up until today. They're affiliated with Macaco Gold Team.
Oh yeah.
Jorge Patino, the shoot box guy, and the other one was Berserkers Team, and they were affiliated with Felipe Costa. So there was one team that split in two, big rivalry, and everyone knew like, oh, these guys are them guys, and these guys are the enemies.
Yeah.
So it was nice in a way because it was like a clash of.
How did you pick which one to go to?
Good question. I had a PE class once, and we were running in the in the park, and there was a coach from the team that I picked was running in like, I think it was like 9:30 in the morning, and he had the appearance of a warrior, So it was like, you know what, like I'll be interesting to go and see what this guy is showing, Plus it was closer to my home, so it was like a 10-minute drive. The closest academy that was ever the closest academy to my home ever. Like, I wish I was 10 minutes from the academy. I went there once, and that's how I stayed. But I was just by pure coincidence, because the other guys were a bit far away. Maybe the website wasn't. It was literally like rolling a dice.
Yeah.
So no regrets.
Do you remember going in for your first class?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember because I was first time I went there. I was just watching. It was in a old judo dojo. I remember the sweat. The humidity of the room. So the first class, I was just watching from the side, thinking, that's easy, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then first actual training was a bit of an experience, because obviously, like, you have no idea what to do, where to go. So I was much more flexible back then. I'm still flexible, but I was so flexible back then. So I was like, letting my body to bend, ways. And it was fun, and it's something like very intriguing. Like, oh, this is what you can do with your body, and this is how you can overcome, the other guy. Obviously, I was young. There was no teens classes, no kids classes at that time.
How old were you?
I was 15.
All right.
Yeah, was I? 2008. Must have been 15, I guess. I need to do the maths. And. So also another thing, I had a bit of a series of appearance, although I was young, so they were not going any easier on me. So it was like I was already pushed into the deep waters, and that's how it rolled on.
So tell me the journey of how you ended up coming here to the UK.
How did I ended up in UK?
Or maybe that's taking a big leap. So you go to the next step in this story.
So, how did I ended up in UK? All right, so I was visiting London in, I think that was 2012 maybe, for the first time, and I went to train at RGA back in Latimer Road. I think they just moved in there, and that was my first. Training outside of my first academy,
right?
Ever, like my very first appearance in any other academy. I have no idea how other academies structure the training or anything.
But now you're a blue belt, purple belt.
I was blue belt. I was blue belt then. The years are getting like blurry, so I can't really. I would have to check on by the pictures, and so. But so it was a nice experience. The guys were very friendly to me, except for the one guy who deliberately put me to sleep. Oh, really? Yeah, I did. He was like, I went for a single leg. I didn't want to be like too rough or anyone or anything. I went for a double leg or like single leg, and he went like cross choke on me. I remember tapping the leg, and the next thing I woke up, and Bruno was looking at me like pissed, like, what the hell? But it's okay, it was fun. I got the guy back, by the way, Suzeji, just to make things clear.
Does he still train?
Yeah, okay, he still trains. He's a tough guy. Won a lot of tournaments
nice.
As a masters, but like a great friend of mine. So
good.
Yeah. So that was my first, as I said, my first visit in any other academy, and it was a bit of a confusing period, because when I was going further and further in Jiu Jitsu, it was like there was this stigma that you can't make a living out of it. Like, even if you pursued career or anything, it would be like like there will be no reward in any ways.
Yeah.
Plus, I wasn't at level that I would think of conquering the world or so. So I had that little bit of like clouds over like my future in terms of jiu-jitsu. So the only way was like going MMA or so. It was like, okay, this is the only way you can actually make something out of it. So there's always that cloud above my head. So I never I never put it in as a priority of generally how to structure my life.
Yeah.
And it was a confusing period of finishing high school. It's like what are you going to do next? And it's like matter of fact, it was a question of like, oh, what are you going to study? Because that's the way forward. You know what I mean? It's like that's how the education system, or like maybe the society, kind of like sees you in when you're reaching adulthood. It's like, what are you going to study? Where are you going to work at? Blah 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 blah. There's those expectations of you, from family and this and that. Everyone's like, what do you want to do in life? As in, profession. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if I could choose, like, honestly, if I could choose, I would be obviously like, something to do with martial arts. And so, but it was, as I said, that vision was very, very clouded. So I met a friend of mine, was a traveler, literally. He was traveling from places to places, like, all different jiu-jitsu academies, competing here and there. And he kind of like, he showed me that, like, man, like, this is not the way you think about it. This is not the way things are. You can actually, live that lifestyle. So I was like, oh, cool, let's give it a go. And then in 2014, I made the first trip to Birmingham because I was so inspired by Braulio. And I literally phoned up the academy and I was like, guys, I'm coming. I was so excited. I was like, look, I'm coming, I'm going to be training at yours. And for me, it was such a big thing. And the guy on the phone was like, yeah, cool. I'll see you then. Like, that's it? Whereas like, yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. So it's like, yeah, cool. I'll see you then. I was like, cool. So I came over. I booked the trip for like 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, I was training in the GB Birmingham. Was Norby who opened the doors. I literally, as soon as I landed, I went in straight to the academy. It was Norby who opened the doors, and he was super welcoming.
And do you already had like good English by this point?
Do I have a good English?
I think you're good English. Better than my Polish.
Probably yes. I was obviously like, doing things in English. There was music, videos, and blah blah blah, movies and so on. So it's like you're introduced to you can't be having an internet. English is an international language, so going on doing things on internet, you have to have a good English. Yeah. So that's how I went to that's how I got into UK. It was a 214 first trip to Birmingham, and then Norby was I think that would be the guy to point out who made me stay in here. It's like, man, look, he says, look, you got a potential. It would be great to have you here. Come whenever you can. So it was July, I think, or June, July, and then February or maybe March the next year, I organized a room in Birmingham and stayed in GB Birmingham for, I think, period of like 4 months up until my contract expired. I went back to the summer, and then.
What were you doing at the time to fund that like original Birmingham trip and like waylay the pressure from their friends and family to be like, why aren't you at university, or how come you not?
I had enough. I went to the university.
So
I went to. It's a funny story because I was orientated more or less like in sort of like a chemistry, biology direction.
Wow.
And there was. I messed up like registration for for the courses at the uni.
It wasn't on purpose, was it?
No, because it was like physiotherapy, nutrition. It was like few things, and I messed up something, and I was like, and there was a biotechnology, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go there then.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
If I want to change, then some of the subject can translate and so on. And I went there at the uni. I don't regret it because it was a good experience. Met some nice people and so on. I remember sitting there. I was on my after I think it was Friday or so. One Friday, like second month in the semester. I had my luggage. I was going for the Polish nationals. I was so excited, about the nationals. And then as soon as the class finished, I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" I mean, like obviously I'm going for the competition now, but it's like, let's be honest with yourselves. Like that's not the place where I want to be. That's not what I want to do. I'm so gutted. I'm going for that national championship because this is where I want to be. So it's like the moment I left there, we had a bus to go with the whole team to the competition, and I remember it's like, man, that's it. It was like, that's the path I want to follow.
Was it just one of those things where you're kind of like sitting in the class, feeling, and all you could think about was the jiu-jitsu, and then they're like talking about your bio stuff.
That's it. That's the one. That was the moment I was like, you know what, boom.
It must take a lot of kind of like personal integrity to kind of admit to yourself that though, because like the safer option would have been like, oh, I love jiu-jitsu, but my friends, family say I should be here in uni. I'm just going to carry on and just see,
Yes and no, but it's like, man, it's your life, and it's like you need to be truth with yourself, like true with yourself. You can't live a lie. Like that's not a great fundament on anything you're doing. And I've seen this, and the more time passes, I've seen this all over again. It's like people go into the direction they don't want to go, and it's like, man, you're gonna be miserable. Like you're gonna look back in 10 years time, 20 years time, and you're gonna be full of regrets. Obviously, the life will go on, and you would find happiness, but it's like, why you want to avoid it in the first place? Why you want to do? I'm teaching kids like from 4-year-old to 16-year-olds. Obviously, I mean, I'm teaching everyone, but like kids and adults. Yeah. But I teach the young ones. So obviously, naturally, I have some conversations with them. And sometimes I'm asking them, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because I want to do this and I want to do that. It's like, do you? Do you really? It's like, you really want to do that stuff? Because I'm not sure, you're into this stuff, you're into that stuff, you're into something else, I mean, I don't know you that well to say what you're into, but, nowadays it's like, man, you can make a living out of everything, I mean, it's not like we're back in, even 70s or 80s where, it's like, things are a bit different. I have internet, you can do this, you can do that, and you can make a living out of unboxing things on YouTube. So it's like the spectrum of things you want to do is broad.
Did this kind of philosophy and mindset get developed through jiu-jitsu, you think? Might be. Being like true to yourself and like make sure you're...
Yeah, I think so. This actually, it's 100%, like being true to yourself. Like jiu-jitsu it's such a thing that, it's all about the truth. It's like, man, if you get swept, you got swept, you're on your back. It's like, there's no denying that. There's no delusions. It's like any I would say any sport, but jiu-jitsu in particular is like, it's all about the honesty. It's like, if you get tapped, you got tapped. If you get armbarred, that was on. That you can't deny it. Like, especially when you get overextended a little bit. That was on. There's no denying that, you got armbar or so. It's like, you need to face it. You cannot lie. And I feel like in other specter of life, when something happens, you can sort of
someone else to blame a lot of the time. Like in team sports, like
exactly.
football.
Like there's it's like it's not as clear. Do you know what I mean? As you said, in team sports, it'd be like, yeah, we lost because of that guy, because this guy made a mistake, and that. So there's always like something to point the fingers at, or explain it in a way that you're not going to be seeking the truth, as opposed in jiu-jitsu there's only your actions and your opponent actions, but even that doesn't matter. Like your actions is the one you're responsible of, not your opponent, not anything. And I think now that I sort of saw things through, and that's what like the Zen sort of concept of the Buddhism. In the concept is like, you cannot control the outcome. You cannot control the outside circumstance. All you can do is control your response, and that's it.
Yeah.
And in jiu-jitsu, that's the thing. And I think that was a big breakthrough in my thinking, also regarding competition or fight itself. Is like, man, like, doesn't matter the guy. It's only me, my actions, my reactions, and that's the way to go forward. So
is that what drew you to competing more? Because it is, of what you were speaking there, that's like the pinnacle of it. In the training room, you might be, playing around on some new stuff, but in competition, like, you're both the same size, weightish, belt level, and you're both going to play your A game. And then I think the kind of things you were just talking about there, like amplified to the max point. Is that what drew you to it, you think?
I would say so. I mean, it's been, it's hard to say. It's hard to say because throughout the years, my mindset, my mentality changed so much. Up until recently. I mean, things were going up and down, and it was a bit of like different mindsets. Especially when I look back, it was like different sort of strategies on how to put it all together, how to understand it. So it wasn't always the same vision that I have now. I mean, I feel like I matured in the way when I look back at the way I started the fights. It was like when I started to compete, it was like totally. I cannot even think what was in my mind then. It was like there's so many different emotions and everything. It was like broad specter of circumstances that was sort of giving you this type of mindset up to like even some few times where you're acting like an asshole or so because in your head you'll be like, I'm here, I'm the badass, and I want to smash people, and I want to be the man or whatever, and it's like changes, it keeps on changing, but.
Tell me about, so you get to Birmingham and you stay in for longer. Tell me about your progress from there, and what belt level were you? And
I was so when I came in 214, was that 14? Must have been, or was it 213? I would have to check. Browley won the competition in that period of time, because when I was there, he came back from the Worlds. So that was his last. So it must have been 13. That was his last World Championship title. He beat Andre Galvao, and it was the first time I met Browley. We were training, and he came into the room. It was like an unbelievable experience. You guys are used to having world champions around, but for me, it was the first time I encountered like a world champion. Especially in his academy when he came back straight from the Worlds. And I remember the aura, the energy he had was unbelievable. So 2013, blue belt. On the summer 2013, I must have got my purple belt then. Because in 2014, when I went to Birmingham, I was already purple belt. So I think like a few months later, I got my purple belt. So 2014, I had my purple belt. Yeah, 2014, I had my purple belt. And that's when I was March, I think, March, July, I was in Birmingham. I was training a lot. Like that was my main thing.
Yeah.
I said to my parents, look, this is my university. You know, this is what I want to do in life, and you know, you can help me, or you can, you know, we can disagree. But this is what I'm going to do, regarding of your, you know, of your opinions or anything. So I got the green light. I got the support. So yeah, I was training the whole time. Norby was the main instructor back then. He taught me a lot of jiu-jitsu. Was Charles at the same time. He was also an instructor, and he was upcoming, like a competitor as well.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he was already like a big name, but he was like, you know, chasing the competition. You know, he was training a lot, so we and the amount of time he beat me up from that purple belt days, he was beating me up badly. And but it was nice because I knew he's like, okay, this is a black belt competitor. This is the level that, you know, this is the level. You know, this is, although he had a bit of a different style, I knew like, okay, this is the top guy. I see.
And in your head at this point, you wanted to make a living through jiu-jitsu, martial arts, and was it your thought process was competing for it, or?
Well, I was a bit confused in terms of like how you know, like, because I knew this is an option, but I wasn't sure if, you know, if that was the right way. Maybe you know, have like a career, like a slightly on the side, and you know, being able to train,
right,
you know what I mean?
I get you.
To generate an income, and then, you know, leave the jiu-jitsu just for jiu-jitsu. Or maybe, you know, like eventually you're getting so good that you can live off like sponsorships and so on. So, you know, it was a bit of like a confusion. I mean, I was working in on the competitions. So I was like running the scoreboard and up until recently, like I've been, that's how I was like, you know, that's how actually I would say that's how I started to make money in jiu-jitsu, just by running, you know, be a runner-up on the competitions, you know, doing the scoreboard, and then, you know, so the money was sort of like,
just
it was there, you know, like in the way, like it was possible to. I knew it was possible to make it. Maybe the amount was a bit like, you know, obviously like, you know, you cannot make a living by you know, helping out with the competition like once a week or so. But it wasn't bad to start with, you know. And then obviously the guys around were making money teaching. So I thought, okay, that's the way forward, you know. That's how things are. You know, that's how things are, you know, like this is how this is how you're going to make money if you decide to be, you know, living off jiu-jitsu, you know? So I knew it's there. Like there's been a vision of making money in jiu-jitsu, but, you know, making money, make a living, because making money is not the best way to go into jiu-jitsu. Make a living, that's fine. You can make a living. You can make a living of anything, but making money, like, man, go on, like, go do some banking stuff, you know? That's how you make money. But make a living, that's absolutely doable. Making money as well, you know, now, especially now when the industry grew, you see guys killing it, you know, some guys, we have Gordon Ryan, obviously he's the best, but I can name you many guys who like Eddie Bravo, for instance. He's a great example of guy who makes money in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it is possible.
Yeah. So tell me, what led you to leaving GB Birmingham, and where did the story go from GB
Where the
Birmingham?
story goes from Jimmy Birmingham. Oh, okay, so my room contract was expiring. So it was a student's house in Selly Oak. There's like an area in Birmingham right by the university, and my room the contract expired in July. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back Poland for summertime and then enjoy the summer a little bit. You know, after that whole hard period of training, and then I'll come back. I'll come back to Birmingham. You know, after the summer. Just settle in, you know, get a flat on my own, you know, look for a job and sort things out as they should. Yeah. And meanwhile, the guys had a split up. So Norby left, Charles left. So Norby went his own way. Charles came to London, and what happened was I was a bit puzzled, like what to do. So I called up Norby. He's like, bro, like what am I supposed to do? And he didn't tell me at that time that, you know, there's some tension in the gym. He said, like, look, I have an opportunity to come here to London just to stay at someone's house just for some time. So he said, look, go London, you know, get a job, get some money. You're gonna have a good training in here, you know, and you're not gonna regret it. And then if you want to come back, you'll be back. And so I did. Obviously, I've been visiting the Roger Gracie Academy beforehand, so maybe once or twice, 3 times, maybe even. Very welcoming guys, you know. They had a good crew at that time. So you know, like, and I came in here. Was that? Must have been September, October, 6 years ago. So what year is that? 6 years ago? Must have been 2015. Yeah. So 2015. I might be mistaken the years, you know. So 2015, I came here. September, October, stayed up until Christmas. I had to come back home for personal reasons. And spent Christmas there, was a bit puzzled what to do. In 2016, I decided to come here and stay, you know, after the Europeans. My first Europeans, 2016. It was probably February I came here. So
it was purple belt?
Purple belt,
right.
Yeah. Purple belt, 2016. Purple belt, February. That's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay here. It was a good crew. Few guys were just phenomenal, and it was great training, you know. So I was like, why wouldn't I go away? And Roger was already training at that time quite a lot because he was preparing for some MMA fights. So it was a nice encounter. When a guy like this opens up the door for you, it'd be like, wow, you know, like so welcoming. And you know, Charles was there, so it was like, you know. I decided to stay, and here I am. You know, a few years later. That's how things sort of evolve, you know.
So how did it work out to kind of when you decided to stay to you ending up being one of the main instructors here at the academy?
So in 2016, I was here. I was working in a local bar, so it wasn't something, you know. Speaking of money, but it was a fun experience, obviously. But it was a very flexible job, so whenever I wanted to go away, I was like, "Cool, I'm going to be away for some time." And then meanwhile, there was some competition here and there, so I was being like, you know, doing everything pretty much. Whenever there was they needed me, then that was there. Even to a point where I was working at the reception. I think it was like summertime. I started in the summertime. It was like July maybe till the end of the year, 2016. I was working at the reception. I knew that, you know, already, you know, I was training loads as well, so I was already linked to the academy. I started working at the reception, so I knew how things worked over there. And in 2017 they needed another instructor for the kids class, and my friend was asking me, Joe, if I wanna do it, because I was looking for a job at that time. I was like, look, I'll give it a try. And I ended up doing kids, and then I was a kids instructor, and then from kids instructor I started to do some intros, and then from intros I started to assist in the classes. So when I got my black belt, I was already teaching the classes on my own, so that was just a natural path.
Amazing. Do you have a favorite story or memory from one of your belt promotions?
Belt promotions, favorite story from the belt promotions. So going back, black belt promotion, bro, it was an experience, I'm blank, like in terms of, I had the speech, I can't even remember what I was talking about, because I knew it's going to happen.
Because you got to prepare a speech beforehand, right?
Yeah. So I knew it's going to happen, but in my head I wasn't like pushing those thoughts away in some sense. I was like, nah, I'm not going to prepare for that, because I know what I'm going to say more or less. And then when I got my black belt, it struck me so hard that I was in such a state of a shock that I couldn't, talk, properly. I was like murmuring something, but I can't even remember what I said really, because it was so much, it went so quick from the very first day I stepped my foot on the mats till the moment I got the black belt. I was like, literally that struck me so much. Like, my daughter was born a year before, and it's a shock. You hold your own baby on your hands, and you're like, your thoughts are just. It's such a state of mind. It's hard to describe. And I remember that had very, very similar, not the similar feeling, because the birth of my daughter was the best day of my life, but getting my black belt was very, very similar in terms of was also a great day. It was such a shock that, man, you're like, your life, it becomes like, a shots of life, like clips, like scenes of your life, they all pop into your head. It's like it's such accumulation of the time that you're not sure what to make out of it, because, man, it's like I've been such a kid back then, as in, like it's like different person almost, you know what I mean? I was such a kid, and then all of a sudden I ended up in the stage where I'm here. It's like even now I cannot really express it in words, because it's been. So, I mean, it's just hard to explain really. But
it's just been, like a point in a journey that's kind of been with you for like a lot of transformative years of your life, from a kid starting out at 15 and
pretty
then,
much,
and then now, getting, having got your black belt, and now you're a dad, and you're living in a different country, and you followed your kind of dreams doing the jiu-jitsu.
More or less, more or less. But it's like, man, it's been a life, like for those last 10 days, it's like, man, it's been 10 years, you know what I mean? It's been 10 years, and so many things happen. So
when you tell your mom, your dad, and your friends that don't train jiu-jitsu, like you got your black belt, what was that like? Because they probably don't fully understand like how difficult, right?
They knew already, like people who knew me, they knew already like how dedicated I was. Yeah. And then, obviously getting black belt in jiu-jitsu is there's not that like how many people start and how many people actually get their black belt. So it's been an achievement. So some were like, "Ooh, man, black belt is like, ooh," it's like, you're the guy now. Like, bro, I was a guy when I was a purple brown belt, been competing here and there. And black belt is just an extra, it's like a next step forward. It's a reward in a way, but obviously like it doesn't change that much as a fighter, like there's actually more expected of you now.
Yeah.
So it's like, but everyone was, like they were, I felt like they were obviously proud, like, man, you got the black belt. Yeah, now you're the guy. He's a black belt now,
So now when your mum tells, people that you're doing martial arts, she's like, oh,
my mum stalks me on social media. So anytime I go somewhere, she's actually very, she's obviously very proud, like, look, he's going there and he's going there. He's been there. He's been at the world championship, look, there's a picture and that stuff. So it's like, nice. That's funny, but it's nice, it's nice. Obviously it's a path that like, some will never understand, but, and it's been a bumpy road and it's been up and down. And I feel like, if there's like a teenager starting here at the age of 15, when he has like, let's say this academy, we see people making a living out of it, see a lot of champions, like this is much easier for him to kind of pursue that way, knowing that, the future might be that way, as opposed when that was me, it's like, man, it's like, there's not, it's not that, clear,
Now as a teacher of jiu-jitsu, has your perspective on jiu-jitsu changed a lot?
As a teacher of jiu-jitsu, yes. Yes, big times, because it's a jiu-jitsu is such a tool that, it is, there's a saying, jiu-jitsu for everyone. And that came into my realization that it is. And it's a tool that it's a tool that, some can use to lose weight. Some can use to, literally like find a hobby. There are a lot of people struggle with like, their free time, what to do in that free time. They try this, they try that, but man, try jiu-jitsu, social wise, you have people like in London, it's like so hard to kind of like find a group of friends that, you'll be doing something positive for one another.
Yeah, not just going out drinking.
Exactly. You can find people drinking everywhere. Like if you're in that stuff, every pub is always welcome. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can always do that, and then it's a shame to do that when you're young, because if you're young, there's so much life can offer for you, activity wise and stuff. When you're 50, 60, 70, it's like, man, that's when you can think about maybe going to the pub, spend some free time there. You won't be able to train hard or anymore or anything. So it's like, then you can sit down. But when you're like 20 something, like what the hell are you doing with your life? It's like, you got healthy body, you got youth, you got time, spend it in the way that you're going to improve as a person, So also obviously like there's as I say, the social aspect, the tool to, let's say, lose weight as an activity, self-defense for some. I've seen it all because this academy you have such a variety of people. So I've seen it all, and I've seen how people improve, how kids improve, and like the way they develop, like skills beyond like, physical activity.
Beyond just the techniques they're learning, they're learning
100%. So, like recently, I've been thinking a lot about, life in jiu-jitsu, my life, because obviously there's been COVID period, so that was a bit of a like a break from from normality, like the regular life that we had. So it got me question a lot of things. So I had to, put things in the right order, as in my head, how to, how to see things as they are, in reality, how much contribution, we have to society, to people who come and train here. So, did it change? Yes. Like definitely, if you're a jiu-jitsu teacher, you're going to give to people. So you're naturally going to be a better person, like there's going to be, you're giving something to people. Like obviously, like, when you're competitor, you can inspire some, but it's not going to be the same thing as literally helping, someone to, like, in person to do, ABC or whatever, right? So you do few other things, man. So it's like definitely changed.
Helping to kind of develop people first, aren't you? Really. So it's like, you're going to teach them techniques, but you're also going to be like looking after them,
100%.
On the personal things. They end up coming to you for advice on things, and it's like,
that's a bit of like, who am I to give you an advice, but yeah, like the thing is, it's a martial art, so you need to set up an example, like with the way you carry yourself. You need to step up, like you can't be especially for kids, like, so for all the kids instructors out there, especially who have social media, you would be surprised how many people follow you from fake accounts or like hidden accounts, because they want to know you, like I'm teaching here. Yeah. Like they don't know nothing about me. So, they're curious. It's normal. Like, they Google out, obviously the social media nowadays, everyone wants to see people they know on social media. So it's like, even the stuff you're posting is like, so as I said, for all the jiu-jitsu instructors, especially the ones who teaching the kids, don't post any bullshit, because they look up to you. You're like their superhero, like, and then all of a sudden you're going to post some shit on let's say politics or so. It's like, there's no need for that, I'm guilty myself sometimes. No, not anymore, out of politics. But you need to be an example on all spectrum of, you can do bad stuff. I mean, it's up to you, but don't make it influence the young generation or so. At least. So you have a duty in a way, to be a role model for them. That's why, if you want, you should promote like healthy lifestyle. You shouldn't be promoting any. That's a bit of an issue I have with, like, the weed, the stuff that they do in the US. It's like, man, would you want your kids to be training with someone who smokes all the time, or would you want your kid to be training with someone who's into like healthy lifestyle or nature, that kind of stuff? Like, you need to be good. You need to be good. You need to do good, not only for yourself but for others. But it will go in together. So.
Amazing.
Being a jiu-jitsu instructor, you have a duty, man. You have a duty.
Got to lead by example, eh?
You have to. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Obviously, like, you have guys from 10th Planet, and they created a culture around, that we sort of like stoned and blah blah blah. It's fine, but I wouldn't want my 12-year-old son to be around people who smoke weed all the time, and that kind of like, it's like, would you want your son to be around, stoners the whole time, or would you want your son to be around,
So what's the opposite of that? What does it mean to like be a good martial artist?
Do good. Good intentions. I think this is something. This is something you should have in mind. Good intentions. So generally. I was reading about about one guy who was helping the Chicago Bulls team to kind of like, you know, like with their mental game. And he says, higher purpose, find a higher purpose. But he meant it in the way that, you know, how meaningful for you is to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, there's going to be somebody looking up for me, you know, one day, and then, you know, maybe they will be, you know, inspired by that, you know, some way. And as I said, you know, like there's a lot of you know, young kids who have no idea what to do in their life. So it's like, cool, like you don't know what to do, you're doing jiu-jitsu, stick to it. It will lead you some way.
Yeah.
But you know, at that time, you're gonna be staying away from trouble, you know. You cannot go wrong with, you know, being healthy, being disciplined, you know, training, you know, because that opens up a whole another, you know, gateway to other good things, you know.
Yeah, and the kind of values that you were talking about beforehand, like just being true to yourself and that kind of integrity piece of it all is some of the main reasons I find values in training as well. Yeah. Well, Professor, we're about just out of time now.
Sorry,
we've got to teach.
The coffee you brought me kicked in, and I could talk and talk and talk. It's hard for me because I did not prepare myself for that particular question. And as I say, there's been loads of different things happening throughout like last years, and so it's a bit of like a chaos too, and especially for me to express myself the way I wanted to, or answer your question precisely is a bit tricky, but I tried my best. So
I thought it was great, man. You can't unpack a whole life really into 1 hour. So
no.
we'll have to do it again at some point.
Cool.
I'd love for you to come visit us in Leeds.
I definitely will.
But until next time,
never been to Leeds, so on my way. Thank you very much, guys.